For months now, I've been reading about a dangerous trend in the UK where the government wants the ability to simply cancel your citizenship, sometimes even without warning. I'm going to tell you why this is so important. I think it bears clarifying. Citizenship is something that you have. You are a citizen, and as a citizen, you are entitled to a passport. There are a few conditions. A stateless person can get a passport, but generally speaking, you're a citizen, you get a passport of that country. And so even if you are an American, for example, and you've never had a passport, that does not mean that you're not a U.S. citizen. It means you simply don't have a travel document. And so if you go back and you say, oh, my mother was Canadian and should be Canadian, but I never had the passport. Again, doesn't mean you're not a citizen, it just means you don't have the passport. So I think it's important. What we're talking about here today is the actual citizenship, the nationality itself. And I think the best article that I've seen that talks about this is an opinion piece. I'm not saying I agree with every word of it, but it's from the Financial Times back in January called The UK's Erosion of Citizenship Rights. I'm going to share it with you. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson, the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. That means legally reducing your taxes, diversifying, protecting your assets, and having second citizenship so that no one government controls you, which is a real drag on your business or your investment portfolio. I'm also the host of the biggest and best offshore conference called Nomad Capitalist Live, which everyone's welcome. So here's the article that says a late clause would allow the Home Office to revoke nationality without notice. Now, this has been ongoing. There's been some changes in the situation, but let me go back to January and tell you what was happening, because whatever happens with these rules, whatever becomes of them, I always feel like when you start talking about issues in the public dialogue, when it becomes a big issue, you never entirely go back. You have now in the discourse in, let's say, the United States, the UK, South Africa, Canada, Australia, New Zealand even, talk of a wealth tax. That's not going to go. There will be politicians who will keep carrying that flame, and that will continue to happen with this situation here. British voters have been sold an illusion, says the Financial Times, that the government can somehow stop migrants and asylum seekers from arriving on its shores. Unsurprisingly, its latest attempt to look like it is doing something is problematic. By criminalizing desperate attempts to enter the UK, the government's Nationality and Borders Bill has already attracted controversy, but a clause that would allow the Home Office to secretly strip even British-born individuals of their citizenship is an unjust and draconian step that has sparked real concern among 6 million Britons, mainly of migrant heritage. Now, you can see when you're reading this, oh, okay, well, why are people coming to our country? We want to keep people out of our country. Okay, that's certainly one position that you can have. And that's the position that the government will use, the politicians will use to say, well, listen, we're just trying to keep these desperate people from coming to our country. We want to protect your jobs. We want to protect your way of life. There's entire Western media that talks about that, and you can agree with that. That's one position to take. But that's the sales pitch. What actually happens is that even if you're born in the UK, they can come in and take your citizenship. By the way, we've discussed this before. It continues to come out. Clause 9 of the bill would exempt the Home Office from having to give written notice to those it intended to strip citizenship from if it was deemed against national security, generally not in the public interest, or merely impractical to do so. So we started out with like, okay, if you're a real bad guy, okay. The fact that your citizenship means that little, by the way, the fact that it's even being discussed, if you're born there and you're a natural born citizen, there shouldn't be any ability. You want to take someone and put them in jail, you want to throw someone underneath the jail, fine, have all that. But as someone who's in the citizenship space, there's supposed to be a sense of belonging. This is your identity. This is what you can expect from life. Not that, oh, but your parents are from somewhere else, so we're going to throw you back there because we don't like it. Or then it gets down to already the level of, it was merely impractical to do something. So that's what we did. The Home Office had tried to deprive a British woman, an alleged Islamic State supporter in Syria, of citizenship without her knowledge, which the court ruled to be unlawful. Now, my general position is Islamic State? Against. But my position on citizenship is your citizenship, and issues shouldn't be resolved by simply taking people's citizenship, which in some cases might even render them stateless. Then what do? There's no more premise of citizenship at that point. It either exists for everyone or it doesn't. A similar last-minute drafting technique was used by Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, in an equally alarming policing bill. But a cynical late addition is no way to introduce measures that would deprive people disproportionately of color, of the practical means to fight the deprivation of citizenship, the right that confers all other legal rights. Since 2006, successive governments have already enhanced the ability to revoke citizenship. This is not a brand new thing. It's been going on for over a decade and a half. Patel can already do so to dual nationals in circumstances such as espionage, terrorism, or organized crime. Okay, not good things. I wonder how petty some of these things have to be, by the way. You're the guy collecting wads of cash at the deli in the street corner, and you're organized crime, you're out? I mean, what's the level here? She can even do so to the British-born, and even if it make the individual stateless, but where nationality elsewhere might be granted. So I don't know, hey, listen, I'm sure the Syrians will take you, and are you sure? No, I'm not sure, but we think they will. So all right, off you go. This has meant foreign-born Britons, or those with migrant heritage, and possibly a claim on foreign citizenship, the citizenship by descent we talk about, although in this case maybe not in the best of countries. Potentially 6 million people are already in a more invidious position than other citizens. But at least until now, they've had the right to be told of attempts to revoke their citizenship. And that's the whole issue that they want to get rid of. Now, the article goes on, and these issues hopefully don't apply, because I don't know that we're popular among organized crime or people in espionage. Certainly there have been cases in the U.S., by the way, where you've seen people who were traitors, and they were engaged in espionage for foreign governments. There was a famous one with Israel. And what happened? I don't know of any instances in the U.S. where you're not a citizen anymore. And obviously the United States and many American countries are different in that you are not a citizen by your parents and their citizenship, but you're a citizen by birth on the soil. And perhaps that makes it a bit more ingrained. But the idea here is the UK seems to be one of the most egregious versions of this. You see it occasionally from Australia. Other countries may follow suit. You know, my concern is not representing people for the Islamic State or espionage or terrorism or organized crime. But the issue here is either citizenship works or it doesn't. One of the reasons on a more apocalyptic level that I believe having more than one is valuable is your government will hang you out to dry when it's convenient for them. Because you can see, again, espionage, all the buzzwords. And hey, maybe you don't care about those folks. We talked about the fact that the UK and Boris Johnson wanted to cancel passports of folks who had committed petty criminal offenses. It's just simply not the right thing to do. You don't have to support the criminal offense. And listen, if you think that the law isn't tough enough on people, make sentences longer. Lock people up. Do what you have to do to fix the issue. But the issue isn't when the person gets out and their sentence is spent telling them you're forbidden to travel, one of the fundamental rights. The issue is that your government is attacking your fundamental rights. We saw it in Australia where you couldn't even come into your own country. You paid them for years, and when you needed them, they left you out to dry. Now, they want to not give you a passport. You see things in certain countries. Oh, have you done this or have you done that to renew your passport? Now they have conditions. You're a citizen, full stop, that's the deal. You're entitled, under all the international, they've been discussing it for decades, to come to and leave your country when you want. It is already harder to travel than it has been throughout most times in human history. In terms of, not if you're a Westerner, but for most people you need to get visas to go places. Just the level of complexity, and we've seen it in the last couple of years in terms of filling out forms, just all that. It's just more involved in traveling. There's not as much freedom of movement as there has been in the past. Imagine being told you can't leave your own country. You're just forbidden. And imagine being told that in a high-tax country where if you're British, you're paying a high amount of taxes. The tax incentives generally don't apply to you. That maybe a foreigner could get if they move to the UK, so that doesn't apply to you. Imagine that you're just told you're stuck. And it starts with the espionage, but then ultimately they throw in, if it's just impractical. How can that not be extended to anything? And you saw in the United States, it was impractical for the U.S. government to offer, in many of its embassies around the world, citizenship renunciation services. Now, it was continuing, and we were aware of where you could go, but it was a small list of places you could go. Now some of those embassies and consulates are opening back up, but they'd already opened up for other services before they reopened, those that are reopening now, to renunciations. And so the average person who just didn't have the flexibility to fly to some far-flung country to renounce their citizenship that we would tell them about, was just like, all right, we read articles to you. I'm hanging out in Germany. When do I get to renounce my citizenship? I don't want to be American anymore. Meanwhile, they were paying tax to a country they didn't even live in. And so this is the general trend. Can't come to your country, can't leave your country, can't give up your citizenship if you want to give it up, and that may mean including to keep paying them. Can't leave your country, which means you keep paying the tax. And when they're sick of you, and you do something that they'll claim because they're politicians, they've got to make it sound nice, John Doe is tough on crime. They're going to talk about this kind of stuff. Surely you will start to see some examples of how, some loudmouthed YouTube presenter or something like that, they just say, listen, we're sick of this guy. Find something. What's that old book in the US where it's like everyone commits 3 felonies a day? You think they can't find something on you? This is the trend. Your country sees it as a business transaction. Now, by the way, when it comes to, hey, we're going to war, you got to stay and fight, then it's all about ask not what we can do for you, ask what you can do for us. But when you need them, hey, I'm on my honeymoon in the Seychelles. I really got to come back. This pandemic's starting. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Just book a private jet. We can't help you. What do you want? Goodbye. Or we've seen for years embassies, especially big countries like the U.S. You want to get a residence permit somewhere, or you lose your passport somewhere. Bam, answer the phone. When you need something from them, they're nowhere to be found. Great at collecting money. Great at big mouth talking about how we're all in it together. But now it's even extending to, we don't even want you to be one of our citizens. But wait a second, I was born here. This is my identity. There's no more deal with these countries. The most sacred of deals, your very identity you can count on, as they say, that extends all their laws, could be at the door. Now, you say, oh, this is too doomsday. Is that really going to happen to me? I don't know. Did you think that any of the things that have happened to you in the last 20 years, any of the new things they've taken away from you, any of the new demands they've made of you, did you think those would happen to you? I think it's worth being protected. Now, obviously, the more pressing concerns are you want to be in control of your finances. You want more places where you can put money, legally, of course. You want to be able to move out of your country and have a backup plan if taxes get worse, if they start coming after you or taking your assets. You want to have a plan. Second passport can potentially help you with that. It's not a magic wand, but at least sets you up in the right direction. You want more freedom. You want a place to go. You want a better lifestyle. You want your kids to have more opportunities. It accomplishes all those things, or at least gets you ready to do those things now. And you can get second citizenship in a matter of months. You can do it through descent. You can get it through investment. You can get it through many other ways we talk about here on the channel. But you should have one. This is just an added benefit that your country does not care about you. The sacred bond is gone. It's only what you can do for them, never what they can do for you. You've seen it with these headlines and everything else they've been doing in the last 2 years. This is why you need dual citizenship. The idea that there's a loyalty. You're loyal to them. By the way, I learned this in the hotel game. Come and join the Marriott loyalty program. The loyalty is only in one direction. You just stay there and they find an excuse when it comes time when you ask for the benefit, right? This is the same thing with your country. You give them the loyalty, you pay your taxes, you go to fight, you stand up for them, you represent them, and then when it comes time for anything, they're missing in action. So the least you can do for yourself and for your family is to have multiple different options where, all right, I'll be loyal to these two. Or you know what? I'm loyal to myself and I'm loyal to my options. Get at least a second passport. Multiple passports is better because this is the trend, and especially in the Western world.